Alright guys, welcome back. This is tutorial number 7. In this one we're going to be doing an inventory system so you can pick up items. Here I have some items. I've got a statue. As you can see, item name statue. We've got a rock and a couch. And if I hit play, I can walk up to my items that are on the ground, press E to pick up, and I can pick them up. Pick up, and pick up. I can also press I, and that will display my inventory. So as you can see, couch, rock, statue. And once they go away, I can press I again and bring up my inventory as many times as I like. So there you go, we're going to be making that in this tutorial. Now, it might take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to do this one because it is quite a big tutorial. But without further ado, let's get started. We're going to go new project, C++, first person, and I'm going to call this item system. Create project. Now, in this tutorial, we're going to be doing two classes. We're going to be messing around with the character controller that we used in the last tutorial. And we're also going to be adding our own custom actor called item, and this represents an item that you can pick up off the ground. Okay, so the editor is up now. The first thing I'm going to do is click this here, go to C++ classes, and open up my character's source code because we're going to need to edit that. I'm also going to right click, new C++ class, actor, next, and I'll call this item, and then just hit create class. While we're waiting for that, oh no, it's already done. Okay, so let's see here. We've got item.cpp and item.h. We need to set up some player input. The reason we need to set up some player input is because with an item system, I want the player to be able to press E and it picks up the item off the ground. I also want an input so that we can press I and it displays our player's inventory. So like we did in the last tutorial, we're going to go edit, project settings, input, and we're going to add an action mapping. So just click plus, and then we're going to say, let's see here, pick up, and that's going to use the E key. We're also going to add show inventory, and that's going to be the I key. Now in a future tutorial I might add some sort of graphical user interface for this, so you get a nice little interface come up with your inventory items and stuff. But for now, we're just using the debug messages to display our inventory and stuff like that. So we'll click out of this and go back into item system. The first thing we need to do is, because item is going to be accessing item system character, we need to go into item system character.cpp and copy and paste item system character.h into here. Also, for some reason pragma once needs to be directly above these .h's, so make sure it is. If there's a space here, it will not compile, so make sure that pragma once is directly above your .h files, and also make sure item.generator.h is the last header file that you've included in .h, because the generator file always needs to be the last .h file in your list of .h's. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is set up the input. We'll make a couple of functions here, so void begin pickup, void end pickup, and void show inventory. And then in our public we will say B is picking up. By default that is going to be equal to false. And the reason that we're making this public is because this variable here needs to be visible to item.h. So it needs to be accessed from outside the class. Okay, so let's map these functions now. We're going to say input component bind action pickup IE pressed this a item system character and then begin pickup. What the? Begin pickup. There we go. Alright. And then we just add another one of this for end pickup. And this is going to be on IE released. We're also going to add show inventory. So input component bind action show inventory IE pressed, and this one is not going to have any IE released, just IE pressed. This a item system character show inventory. There we go. Okay, so that's how easy it is to link functions to the controller. Very, very easy. Let's implement these functions now. So we'll paste these all into the .cpp file, just down here. And we'll give them a body. And then we'll prefix them with the class name, so a item system character, and there you go. So in here I'm just going to print some debug messages just so that we know that our function is working. So include engine.h. So g engine add on screen debug message -1 5.f. The color that we want to use, I'm just going to say blue, and then the message. And just this is just a test basically, so we're just going to say this is our inventory. We just want to make sure everything's working. And we'll say begin pickup and end pickup. Alright, so we're just going to compile this and just test it to make sure it actually works. And there we go, compile complete. So if we hit play and I press E, begin pickup, and if I let go of E, end pickup. Also, if I press I, this is our inventory, and I can print out the inventory as many times as I like. So now that we know that everything's working, let's go back into our code. And I'm going to say that on begin pickup, B is picking up equals true, and on end pickup B is picking up equals false. And then show inventory, we'll just leave that there for now. We're going to add that later. The last thing I'm going to do is add a public inventory. So T array if string inventory, and this is going to hold, this is basically an array of strings, and they are our inventory items. Let's go into item.h and we'll start adding some functionality to our pickup item. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a U-shape component called tBox. And then we're going to add our static mesh. U static mesh component sm underscore tBox. And the reason I'm putting sm before it is basically just a prefix. It's basically just a naming convention so that as soon as we see sm we know, okay, static mesh. This is a static mesh we're dealing with. Next we're going to say item system character, or actually a item system character, my player controller. And then every item is going to have its own item name. So U property, edit anywhere, if string, item name equals if string, and then by default it is equal to an empty string. We're also going to make a function void pickup. And void get player. And as a parameter that's going to take an actor instance. We're going to call this player. So there we go. Pickup is called when we pick up the item. Get player is used to get the player from the item class because item has to access item system character. And also B item is within range equals false. And when the player is within range, this is going to be equal to true. We're also going to implement our trigger enter and trigger exit functions. So just down here, I'm going to say U function. Void trigger enter. Class A actor. Other actor. Class U primitive component. Other comp, int32, other body index, bool b from sweep, and const if hit result, sweep result. So make sure you got all that right, and then we'll just copy that. And trigger exit is the exact same, except it does not have sweep result and from sweep. And there we go. Now we'll just add these to our class, so void a item trigger. Actually, I'll just copy that over. There we go. And we'll copy that. So this is our trigger exit function. It's not going to have these values here. And there we go. So let's initialize some of our values using the constructor here. tBox equals create default subobject uBox component. My IntelliSense is seriously messed up right now. Anyways, text and box. Right. So there we go. We've initialized tBox. Let's say that tBox b generate overlap events equals true. tBox On component begin overlap dot add dynamic, and that won't come up in IntelliSense, so we're just gonna click out of that, and I'm gonna say this, and then a item trigger enter. I'm gonna do the same for on component end overlap, so on component end overlap dot add dynamic. This a item trigger exit. So now both of these are linked. Oh, whoops, that needs to be end. Both of these are now linked. And we're going to make the root component the T-box. Okay. Now let's initialize our static mesh. So T-box SM underscore T-box equals create default subobject u static mesh component text. We'll do box mesh, and then sm T-box attached to, and then attach it to our root component. Ah, IntelliSense, come on. There we go. Right. And I think that is all we need in the constructor. Okay. Right. Let's set up our trigger exit and trigger enter functions. So, on trigger enter, B item is within range equals true. And when we leave the trigger, it is equal to false. We're also going to display a little prompt to the user. So game engine add on screen debug message. We'll use 1 as the key, 5.if, if color, we'll use green, if string, printf, and that's going to take some text, and then press E to pick up percentage %s, and percentage %s is going to be replaced with the name of the item. So it's going to say press E to pick up, for example, if the item is a spade, it would say press E to pick up spade. If the item was a gun, it would be press E to pick up gun, etc., etc. So we're just going to put item name. And there you go. Oh, and also we need to include the engine, so include engine.h. And now we need to call our getPlayer function and pass other actor. So other actor is us. We are the player who is walking into the trigger box, so we are other actor. And we're passing the character, so we're passing ourselves to the getPlayer function. And getPlayer is going to initialize myPlayerController. As you can see, myPlayerController is not equal to anything right now, so we need to initialize it and set it equal to our player. So to do that, let's go void a item get player actor and then player. I'm going to say that should be right. Okay. Okay, I'll make sure to explain what's going on here. Okay, so getPlayer is going to say myPlayerController, which is that variable we made in here, equals, so we're now actually giving it a value, equals cast cast it as my actually a item system character, and then we're going to pass in player. And there you go. So we've now taken ourselves, casted ourselves into an item system character, and set it equal to my player controller. And that is it. So once we have that, we are basically ready. So let's see here. In tick, we're going to first null check the player controller. So if my player controller is not equal to null, so check if, just put null check player controller, because if we try to use player controller and it is equal to null, then we will crash our game. So we want to check if it's null first. So if it is not equal to null, let's check if my player controller is picking up. So if B is picking up, let's see, is it in there? B is picking up, yep. So if B is picking up and the item is within range, so B is within range, if that is true, then we can finally pick the item up. So we've tested everything, we are within the range of the item, we are pressing the right button to pick it up, and my player controller is not null. We can finally pick up our item. So let's make the pickup function now. This is going to be quite an easy function. Item pickup. And then that is just going to say, so my player controller inventory dot add, and then add item name. So we have now added the item to our inventory, and now we're just going to print a message to ourselves. So g-engine add on screen debug message -1 5.f if color green, and then text you picked the item up. So there we go, we've finally picked the item up, and finally we're going to call the destroy function, and the destroy function is going to get rid of our item. So once we've picked the item up, the item is destroyed, it no longer exists, and garbage collection will take care of our item. So, is that it? I think that might be all. Let's see. Well, we won't know until we try it, so let's go ahead and compile and pray to the Lord Gaben that this compiles and doesn't fail on us. And there we go, compile complete. I was totally expecting a string of errors, but hey, there we go, worked on the first try. So let's create an instance of our item by dragging it into the editor. We'll give our item some mesh, so let's use a rock for this one. So SM rock. I'm gonna scale this down a bit because it's way too big right now. And let's just move this so it's sitting on the ground. Select our item, and item name equals rock. Oh, and we haven't made show inventory yet, so I will make sure this works, and then I will move on to show inventory. So if we go over, press E to pick up rock, or press E, you picked the item up, and it is now gone. So there we go. Alright, the last thing we need to do is set up show inventory, and this should be quite easy to implement. So to show inventory, we're going to be using the for each loop in C++. C++ actually has a for each loop, and we're going to be using that. So void a item system character. Oh, we already made show inventory, didn't we? Okay, get rid of that. And okay, so for auto item in inventory. So we're saying for each item in inventory, and auto basically figures out what type do I need to use here, and then it just uses that type. So for example, if I said auto equals Ruben, it would automatically give that a type string, right? Or if I said auto equals 10, it would automatically give it int. So auto just basically automatically generates the item. So for each item in inventory, let's just print it out to the screen. So add on screen debug message -1 5.f color red, if string printf, and then text item %s item. So for each item, print the item out onto the screen. One last compile, and this should all be working. While I'm waiting for it to compile, I'm just going to add a couple more items. So we'll do let's see here, we'll just add a couch. Let's add a couch. Scale that down. Oh no. Oh god. Oh Gaben. What's happened? Oh no, what have I done? Well, we got all the way through. I told you there would have to be an error at some point, and here we go. We've made an error. I don't know what I just did, but I don't know if that was the compile or what just crashed, but something crashed. Something crashed. Alright. Well, I guess we're gonna have to restore. Following assets cannot be restored. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what I did wrong. Did I do something wrong? I don't feel like I did anything wrong. Let's see. For each item in inventory, and inventory exists, add an on-screen debug message. No, I don't think I did anything wrong. I think I did everything fine. That is weird. Okay, let's just try compile again. If that crashes... Oh, so it did work, okay. I must have done something else. So let's drag in another instance of our item. We'll call this couch. We'll set the static mesh equal to a couch. Set the scale equal to 0.2 on all axes, and then we'll play. So if we walk up to the rock, press E to pick up rock, we picked it up, press E to pick up couch, we picked it up. Now if I press I, item couch, item rock. So there we go, there is our inventory system, fully finished, fully done. And in the next tutorial, I'm going to further develop this inventory system, so make it even better, and add some other features. So I'll see you in the next one.